Okay, guys, this is Mike with Chassis Parts Online. Back with you today, and I'm showing you the latest version of the 1 inch shorter Crown Vic lower control arms for struts or coilovers. Okay, this is the latest version. Not much has changed. That brace in the middle changed, and now I also send the bolt for the bottom of the strut there, and as you guys know, I send the cam bolt and washers for the lower for this. But as you can see, there's a lot of hardware that comes with this. Everything basically comes with it. I'm going to point it all out as we go. Okay, first of all, the ball joints. Those are K80141, same ones that fit the factory control arms. Okay, now these go up through the bottom like that. Okay, and once you see how tall that is, it's taller than that. Okay, so you got a little bit of space. Okay, that's what these spaces are for. Once you get that pressed up through there, this goes on top, and then your snap ring goes on. Okay. People always ask about that. That's what that's for. Also, another tip on these ball joints: put the ball joints in the freezer for about 3 hours before you install them. Put some anti-seize in here and some anti-seize on here, and they'll go in a lot better. Don't get it all over you. That's kind of a joke because I know you will get it all over you. Okay. That's those. Right here in the middle, you got 2 strut washers there, one on each side. So basically, these go in between down in here, one on each side of your strut. If your strut needs those, sometimes they don't. But these are designed around Viking double adjustable coilovers. Okay, so they have a 5/8 hole, which is just like the factory ones do, and that's what these are based on. Also, is so the factory struts will fit this. Okay, come with a bolt. Now they come with a bolt and a flange lock washer. That's an actual lock washer, and it's got a flange, and that is a grade 8 bolt. Okay, comes with both of them. Didn't used to come with those, but they do now. On the bottom here, you see you got 2 separate holes here. Okay, the back hole and that's kind of upper, that's for stock height, just like it would be when you got the thing out of the Crown Vic. Okay. And this front hole, since it's a little forward and a little down, that's 1 inch lower. Okay. Yeah, it took me a while to figure out the mechanics of getting the hole right towards 1 inch lower, considering the struts going out and down. So that's where that goes. Okay. The back of the arm used to have a stud here, but now we don't. There's a threaded bung welded in there, and it's some kind of steel. It's really a pain in the ass to TIG weld. It's made so that you can weld it and keep the threads in there. Okay, so you got a 1/2 by 4.5 bolt that goes through there. You got a flat stainless washer that goes on there, so it doesn't scratch up your washer. Plus, these are stainless washers also. These go on either side of your factory Crown Vic bushing that you have at the back, or also if you have an aftermarket. Now, if you have the aftermarket outcast ones, just let me know and I'll send you a different sleeve to go on this, because his sleeve fits the factory stud, and I can just send you a different sleeve that fits it. Now, I'm fixing to change this out to a 9/16 bung. I've got some being made, and those will be the same as the factory 14 millimeter 9/16, very close. So that'll take care of that. The bushing, the main bushings that go in the aluminum cross member. You got a poly bushing on each side. Okay, this goes in here like this. You put a little Vaseline on it, knock it in with a rubber mallet or whatever, plastic hammer. Put these 2 poly bushings in first. Okay, and then you can knock that sleeve in the same way. Put a little lube on it, knock it in between those down inside there. Okay, and then on each side of these bushings, once these are in here, on each side, you're going to have a flat washer. Okay, that's for that bushing to ride up against that stainless flat washer, because the aluminum crossmember, as you probably know, has a slotted hole on each side. Now, what would happen if that bushing was right up against the slotted hole and it's moving up and down? It would tear that bushing up quite a bit along on the edge. So you've got a stainless washer on the outside and the inside for that to ride against when it's in there. Okay, and here's the lower bolt. We supply the lower bolt also, and it's a 5/8 by 5.5, and the same flange lock nut for that. Those go through the main deal there in the aluminum crossmember. Now, inside on the aluminum crossmember, you're going to see you got a slotted hole in the front that's about that wide, and you got a slotted hole in the back, and you got a groove that these set in basically. One's at the front, one's at the back. Okay. When you turn this, like it's sitting on the vehicle, you turn it one way, the hole's going to line up. I mean, that hole is slotted across there like that on the car. But if you turn it the other way, all the way, there's going to be a little bit of half moon of aluminum that's still left. Now you can grind that out with a grinder and get yourself some more adjustment. Same thing on the front one, and there's pictures of those on the website of what that looks like, where you just got to ring it a little bit. Okay, so that's basically how how everything goes, how they install, where every piece goes. I know we don't send instructions with these. We have instructions on the product page, but it's just written instructions. I need to work on some printed instructions with pictures, but I didn't know how to do that and put it all on the same page. But my wife figured it out, so she's smarter than me. So anyways, that's what we got. I may not have told you guys this, but these plates are laser cut plates. They're a 1/2 inch thick, and the tubes are 1.25 DOM, quarter wall. So basically, I'm welding here 1/2 inch thick to quarter thick. Okay, that's why we got such a big hot weld on here. And when I weld these, the heat signature looks like this on the tube itself. It's when I turn it over to weld the bottom, these tabs on, that we get all the extra heat. And that's because I've got to put a little small bead inside there on the inside and the outside. You know, it's kind of V-shaped down inside there. Okay, and I do that to get basically what's called a root pass. That makes sure there's no gap down at the bottom, and I do that with a piece of 1/16 TIG rod, and then I come back over it with a piece of 8 and fill that in, and I make sure I put a lot of metal there, because your whole vehicle's riding on this. Yes, you guys that weld can see just a hair of undercut right there. But remember, this stuff is quarter thick. That's quarter thick, and that's 1/2 inch thick. So this centerpiece is, I believe those are 3/8 thick. I used to have a tube brace across here, but I like this brace a lot better, because then I don't have to notch a piece of tube in there. I can put them together faster. This is one of those things that takes a lot of work to put these together. So probably October 1st, I'm going to have to go up on the price of these a little bit. Now, remember, these are still at least a few $100s cheaper than the only other company that was making these before, Fat Man Fab. Okay, and I do say so myself. These are nicer. You've seen them. I'm sure you've seen the pictures of theirs, and theirs didn't come with all this hardware. Theirs used the factory bushings at the back, and the same thing on the uppers. And they had a cup here. Okay, I don't like the cup. This is a lot easier for pressing them in, and it's easier for me. And this plate costs less than having a cup machine. Okay, I don't have machines like that to make one, so I'd have to pay for that from somebody else. This is just easier for me, because I can get more weld on the tubes that way too. I don't have to butt it up against it and weld around it. So that's my 1 inch shorter Crown Vic lower control arms for struts. Now, you've seen the ones for bags. Let me see if I can find that. This is a bag one. This one's been sitting here in the shop that I use for testing. So yeah, it's a little rusty, but the bag one just has a bag plate on top. I had some customers tell me that these holes need to move forward because they do not use this hole. Everybody uses this hole, or puts a new hole here. So I did move the holes forward on the new drawing on these. And yeah, that's what the bag one looks like. And that's the other thing about that is you see that that's how the ball joint goes in. That goes on top, as we talked about. And then you can put your snap ring on after that, okay? Not that there's any question. But anyways, that's what the bag ones look like. These are for coilovers or factory struts. And we do have a wide version where this is wider. These tubes are quite a bit wider. And that's so if you're running a coilover, you can take the whole coilover with the coil spring and the spanner and everything and drop it all the way down in the arm, all the way down to the bottom. And they have longer tabs on the bottom. When I get a set of those made, which I have to make something very soon, I'll make a video on those. Now, you don't have to go real low to use those. I mean, the guy that I designed those for, Dennis, over at Farm Truck Racing TX over in Weatherford, Texas, wanted something like that for most of his guys that go real low. But you don't have to be real low. Those can be adjusted up and down and just be low and have a lot more travel and a lot more adjustment on your coil springs that way. So that's something to think about. I'll get some of the pictures of those installed and add them to the website as I go. You guys that have these on your trucks, send me some installed pictures if you can. All right, till then, peace.